Good morning, America. I am here with breaking news. Hardy Elementary School's teacher, Bill Maxwell, and student Mark Chemsley were lost in the woods while at a school camping trip. Sources tell me that supposedly Mark was seen holding a multi-tool that was not allowed at the campsite. Mark was sent to Mr. Maxwell's car after he had to pack up to leave, but what the teacher found when he went to his car was that Mark wasn't there.
Mark was supposed to be in his car, but wasn't, and that's when the chase after Mark started. Nobody really knew where he went except for Mrs. Leghorn. She saw him go into the clearing. Mark followed the Barker Falls Trail until he found a trail that looped back to camp. He saw it while looking over a fallen tree in front of it. With Mr. Maxwell's helpful tracking skills, he was able to follow Mark's tracks, which did take overnight. Now to Cheryl Smith with more on the story, and with Mark and Bill.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Smith, and I'm here with student Mark Chemsley and teacher Bill Maxwell, who are stuck in the woods. I'm here to interview and talk about this event with them. So Mark, what influenced your decision to run away from the campsite?
Well, my teacher had accused me of handling a multi-tool, and I was angry with him because I knew he wouldn't have treated any other kid the way he would treat me. I did have it in my hand, but my friend gave it to me to look at. Bad timing, I guess.
I heard from my sources that the owner of the multi-tool was your friend Jason's. Why didn't you tell Mr. Maxwell that it was his?
He was just being a good friend, and he didn't want to ruin his friendship.
That is true, but I also didn't have time to react. The next thing I knew, Mr. Maxwell sent me to his truck.
How did you feel when you found out it was Jason's multi-tool?
I felt very sorry for accusing him of something that he didn't do. I knew that if I had caught Jason with the tool, it would have been a different punishment.
When you're in the woods, what was a key factor that helped you survive the night?
Well, before I went to camp, I found a man on the internet called Mr. Survival. He gave me the knowledge and tools to spend the night. To keep warm, I made a fire with a magnesium fire starter. I had a space blanket, and I used extra socks for mittens.
Mr. Maxwell, why didn't you go back to the campsite when it got dark?
Please, call me Bill. I didn't want to leave him all alone. I always say no one left behind. I knew I couldn't leave him because he could get hurt.
Did you try calling for Mark?
Yes, I did, but while I was calling, I fell and became unconscious.
When I heard his call, I frantically ran downhill, not knowing where I was going. Then I realized that I should have run towards him for help. Then I started walking west, and when I realized I started walking back to the loop trail. Although I called back and blew my whistle, there was no response.
How did you end up finally finding Mark?
Well, actually, we found each other. When I woke up from my fall, I saw the smoke from his fire and followed it, and I soon found him.
When you found each other, what was your reaction?
I heard another call, and at first I thought it was a bear, but then I heard and saw Mr. Maxwell.
I was very hurt, and Mark realized it.
We were both surprised and very shocked.
Mark, when you first were walking on the loop trail, why didn't you keep walking on it instead of going off the trail?
I wanted to get back to the campsite so I wouldn't ruin the camp trip for everyone by being lost. I thought it might be quicker, and I didn't want Mr. Maxwell to find me. When I found him, I was glad that we were together and I wasn't alone anymore.
What happened when you got back to the campsite?
When we got back, we had awesome pancakes.
Yes, but I think we were relieved that we found each other. The funny thing is, the ranger, Jim, didn't even realize we were gone for the whole night. He told us that he had left because Mrs. Leghorn told him we found him. I am so delighted we found each other that night, but I don't blame Mark for running into the woods.
I was really happy that we made it back and that Mr. Maxwell was okay.
Well, we thank you both for coming here today and telling us your fascinating story.
Thanks for having us. Anytime, Cheryl.
I had a great time, and I wish you were going next year. Thanks, Cheryl.